back. When we last left off at the end of Genesis chapter 11, we had seen that Adam was an immortal demigod, as well as all of his children, and God deemed them to be, not worthy, just constantly angry and upset, and decided that the earth water erupted from what was once a desert wasteland, and everyone drowned, and now the earth is fertile, and we have. Then there was generations and generations and generations, and now we're starting the story of Abraham. Genesis chapter 12. God's call to Abraham. God's call to Abram. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land into the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord, who appeared unto him. And he removed from hence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai-on on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south, and there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the families was grievous in the land. So essentially he was just going around building temples to God, and he heard that there was a drought in Egypt, and he went down just to, help, I guess. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is my wife, and they will kill me, and they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, Thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he asses and manservants and maidservants, and she asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou, She is my sister? so I might have taken her to wife. Now therefore behold thy wife, take her and go away, go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him that they send him away and his wife and all that he had. Chapter 13. Abram and Lot separate. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which was with Abram, and his flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left land, then I will take the right, or if thou depart to the right hand, I will take the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest into Zoar. Let Lot choose him all the plain of Jordan. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the other from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward, for all the land which thou seest, for thee will I give to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Thy seed. Arise, walk through the land and the length of it, and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. And Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the land of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. Big altar builder, huh? Take a little pause in between chapters 13 and 14, just for a little vape break. If you're wondering what light I'm using, it's a street lamp. The time is currently 5 a.m. A coffee. Yes, it's in a beer can, but it's coffee. I want to speak on my own journey just for a moment while we're paused. I'll tell you that I haven't had anything to drink for now 8 days at least. I suppose this would be the 9th. Ooh. Real quick before we begin again, look at the moon. I don't know if you can see. Chapter 14. Lot made captive, Abram rescues him. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, a Reach, king of Elasar, Chidorle, Omer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Berah, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Sheena, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. So let me just note that you should notice that there are some kingdoms that are making war with a specific group of 5 kingdoms. 2 of them Sodom, Gomorrah. 2 of them I'm not familiar with, and the 5th one Zoar. All these were joined together in the Vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. I see. It's because of their proximity together that they are being attacked together. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer. In the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Karanaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaveh, Kirathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir unto El-Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En-Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all of the country of Amalekites, and also the Amorites, and that dwelt in the Hazezon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Adam, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim, when Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Erech, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. Oh, really good. Look at the moon now. Oh, it's going away. Oh, it's getting covered by the clouds. Sorry. Just for a moment it was uncovered, and I wanted to just capture it real quick when I could. And the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, and Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them into Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them into Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. So, unbeknownst to Lot, there was some kind of crazy war going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, and in Zoar and the other 2, where they were being, freaking rained down upon by enemies, and Lot was like, hey, God said this was my land, and boom, 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 doesn't matter, boom, 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 doesn't matter, boom, boom, boom. And he was in trouble, and it looks like Abram went and saved him. And it looks like he did like a planking maneuver, went around and then attacked from all sides. And the king of Sodom went out to meet with him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy land. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord and Most High God, and possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a show clichet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. Save only that which is the young men that have eaten, and the portion of the men that went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So this guy was like, dang, Abram is amazing. Abram is clearly being, led by God, clearly walks with God. I'm going to give everybody who helped Abram a reward, but I'm not going to give Abram anything, because I don't want anybody to give me credit for the things that Abram's going to get, because those things come from God, and I don't want to steal any credit from him. Coolio. I wonder if he learned of God from Abram. Was Abram building temples and teaching people, all of my might comes from God, and then when they see his might, they say, wow, his God is most powerful. Chapter 15, God's promise to Abram. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer and Damascus? And Abram said, Behold to me, thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad. So he's saying, my only heir is my nephew, Lot's son. I don't have an heir. And he was like, oh no, you will get one. And I suppose even though he's the father and doesn't literally give birth, the phrase is that your heir will come from your own bowels, regardless of his gender. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed. If you can count the stars, then they'll be able to count the amount of your children, I suppose, heirs. Anyways, and he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord. It's interesting. So I was thinking about it just now, about the Holocaust, and how those were obviously, Abram's children. And, well, I suppose you can't really count them now. So it's kind of a little prophetic there, isn't it? And as, unfortunate as the image I'm about to create is, with the burning of the piles of the bodies, without any documentation of the amount of people or their names, which is the truth of the horrificness that they did experience, 70 years ago. They were as dust, and they were as the stars, innumerable, unable to be counted. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur and the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and she goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each other against each other. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down unto the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. So he set up, a burnt offering, just essentially dead animals, set it up and fell asleep, had a nightmare. Here it goes. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that the seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation who they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river of Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Kadamites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. Chapter 16. The birth of Ishmael, Hagar, persecuted. So, we're getting to the birth of Ishmael. So, Ishmael will be Isaac's older brother. Isaac will be born later. Ishmael, his descendants will eventually lead into the birth of Muhammad, who's the prophet of the Quran, and Isaac, who will be Ishmael's younger brother, will eventually lead to Christ. But before that, eventually lead to, it'll be Isaac, Jacob, who eventually changes his name to Israel, Joseph, Moses and Aaron, Joshua, King David, so on until Christ, which is the end. Spoiler alert. Chapter 16. The birth of Ishmael, Hagar, persecuted. Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, bear him no children, and she had a handmaiden, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai took unto Abram, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go into my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave to her husband Abram to be his wife. Gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid unto thy bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. And the Lord judge between me and thee. But Abraham said to Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence comest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, and it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Beer Lahai Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name which Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17. The rite of circumcision instituted. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed, after thee and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, and for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of thy covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 years old shall be circumcised among you, every man-child in your generation. He that is born in his house, or brought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house, and he that is brought away with thy money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah. Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. King of people shall be from her. Then Abraham fell upon his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? So in other words, even Abraham, the one who started it all, has questioned God. Oh. And Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear a son indeed, and thou shalt call him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. It's interesting. So Abram and Sarai had Ishmael, and Abraham and Sarah have Isaac. Same people, different names. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin, in the self same day as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the self same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. Oh, Abraham already 100 years old, circumcised. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought of the money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. Abraham pleads with the angels for Sodom. And Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray, he fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye hearts. After that ye shall pass on, and for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do, and thou hast said. So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent and unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran into the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and made it unto a young man, and he haste to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. Lo, Sarah his wife shall have a son. And Sarah said, It in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, and well stricken in age. and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also. And the Lord said unto Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, and according to time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the man rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, and do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. So in other words, people have cried out saying that Sodom and Gomorrah, they're full of sinners, and God said, I will go to Sodom and Gomorrah, and I will see if they are sinners, and if they are not, I will know. And the man turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare this place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken unto me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 50 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again, and said, Peradventure there be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it if for 40's sake. And he said unto him, O let the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken unto me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it if for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet, but this once peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it if for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way, and soon as he left commanding with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Chapter 19. Sodom destroyed, and Lot is saved. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them rise up to meet them, and he bowed himself and his face toward the ground, and he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and yet shall rise up early, and go on our ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and he turned in unto them, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and they did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before there lay down the men of the city, even the men of Sodom compassed the house, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men whence came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door behind him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters, which have not known men. Let me pray you, and I bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came into your sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the men, even Lot, and came back and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord. The Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out to spake upon his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, and the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thou 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men lay hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of the wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters. And Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, and he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape in the mountains, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, O not so, my lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast shown me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. So he's like, whoa, before you escape, before you destroy the city, let me escape. Well, I ran out of coffee. So the 5 kingdoms are all in a valley. And Lot said, just don't destroy this one little kingdom, because I'm going to go there, and I'm going to take cover. And that kingdom is Zoar. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing, and I will not overthrow the city for which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth that Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Sounds like volcano, right? And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham gat up early in the morning into the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of the furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountain. So they ran to Zoar, volcano erupts, and he was like, okay, we're not far enough away from that. So they started running up the mountain. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, and he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, sorry. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with the father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab, and the same is the father of Moabites unto this day. And the younger she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ami, and the same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. These are Egyptian names. Chapter 20. Abram's subterfuge reproved. Abraham's subterfuge reproved. His subterfuge is that the Lord had said, Sodom and Gomorrah must be smote. And Abraham said no. And so God said, okay. And turned out God was right. So now Abraham is about to pay the price for that. Chapter 20. Abraham's subterfuge reproved. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. It's interesting that it's hard to pronounce these words, but if I use the accent that they used at the beginning of The Mummy, Brendan Fraser in the 90s, when they were in ancient Egypt, then the accent marks make total sense. Sarah, Gira, Abimelech. See, it's interesting because they're in Egypt, so that makes sense. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. But the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou did this in integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore I suffered thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought unto me and my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is my kindness, which thou shalt sow unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and manservants and womenservants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21. Isaac is born, and Hagar expelled. And the Lord visited Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did come unto Sarah as he had spoken. And Sarah conceived, and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was bore unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. 8 years old. 8 days old. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, 8 years old. That's so old. 8 days. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me laugh, and so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah would have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had bore unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of his bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also of the son of the bondwoman shall I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it in her shoulder. And the child sent her away, and she departed, and wandered into the wilderness of Beer-sheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and they cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat her down over against him in a good way off, as it were a bow shot, for she said, Let me see the death of the child. confused. It's important that I understand, otherwise, I won't be able to read it in a way that's understandable. Okay, so he sent Hagar away, and she departed and wandered into the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast her child under one of the shrubs. And so she threw her child under the shrubs? Oh, well, because they had no more water as she wandered the desert. And she went and sat her down over against him, a good way off, as it were a bow shot, for she said, Let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. So, Abraham couldn't have a kid, and because Sarah couldn't bear a child, so Sarah had her servant bear a child. But then at 90 years old, Sarah had a kid and cast out her servant who had bore Abraham's child. And she had to abandon her child in a shrub because she didn't have water and she did not want to watch the child die. And I suppose that explains why. Because she's wandering from Egypt. So that's a little foreshadow. She was just by herself with the baby and Ishmael. God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called unto Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God had heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold in thy hand, for I will make him a great nation. Maybe that is Ishmael. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water and gave the lad drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. Love that. Um, that sounds like Greek mythology Apollo, who I identify very much with. Apollo has healing abilities. His bird is the crow, and he's really good with the bow and arrow. He's an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of the host, made unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. So God's fucking pissed. He said, that is your son. And Abraham said, yeah, but this is my wife, so she wants them gone, so we're going to get rid of them. Hello. And Abraham said, I will swear. Well, let's go back. And now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt not do unto me into the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of the well of water which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing? Neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard of it, but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them to make a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewes of lamb by the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, and that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant of Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Chapter 22. Abraham's faith tested by God's command. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went into the place of which God had told him. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. So he's not let them know, I'm about to kill your brother. And Abraham took the word of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of the heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. He said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the land, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thickets by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, and it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of the heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seeds as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thou shalt possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the manners of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also bore children unto thy brother Nahor, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram. And she said, and Hazor, and Fildash, and Jelaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor and Abraham's brother. Blah, blah, blah. So, Abraham's brother, this is like the lineage of Abraham's siblings, I guess. Abraham has 2 kids. Ishmael, who almost died wandering the desert after his mother was cast out when he was a baby, and Isaac. Chapter 23. Sarah dies and is buried in Machpelah. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of Sarah's life of Sarah, and Sarah died in Kirjath Abar, and is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of his burying place amongst you. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein. I give it thee in the presence of the sons of my people. Give I it thee, bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, pray thee, hear me, I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, hearken unto me, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. Harley. She's playing with the curtains. Harley, get back. Silly kitty. I'm just gonna open the curtains real quick. She wants to come outside, but she can't come outside anymore because she had fleas. Took her to the vet and they're gone. But so she wants to come outside, but she can't. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. And he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, and the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for the possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So they prepared all this beautiful scenery and whatnot, and he ended up burying her in a cave instead. All right, chapter 24. Let's get 2 more chapters. That'll be the end of Abraham's life. Chapter 24. Abraham's servant seeks a wife for Isaac. So, I suppose normally it's the mother who seeks the wife, but she was old and died before he came of age, where a wife should be sought for him. So, chapter 24. Abraham's servant seeks a wife for Isaac. And Abraham was old and well stricken his age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go into my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me into this land. Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham, so he said, go back to where I'm from and find him a wife, and then bring her over here. And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land, he shall send his angel before me, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And if the women will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath, only bring not my son thither again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and sware to him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and departed, for the goods of his master were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, into the land of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of waters, and the daughter of men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, Let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink, and she shall say, Drink, and I shall give the camel also. Let that same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac, and therefore I shall know that thou hast shown kindness unto my master. So he said, Let me know who it is that I should bring, that when I ask them for water, they give not only water to me, but also to my camels. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Michal, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, and with her pitcher upon her shoulder. It came to pass, Rebekah came out, and she was born of Bethuel, son of Michal, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother. So she was Abraham's nephew, Isaac's cousin. And she will be Isaac's wife by the end of this. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin. Neither had any man known her, and she went down to the well, and filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hasted, and let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hastened, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again into the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man wondering at her held his peace, to wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass that the camels had done drinking, and the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bore unto Nahor. And she said more unto him, We have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped God, and he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth, I being in the way the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And the damsel ran and told them of her master's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man unto the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earrings and the bracelet upon his sister's hands, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spake the man unto me, and he came into the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, Come in, thou blessed of the Lord, wherefore I standeth thou without? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels. Did they just have gay sex? He was probably like, I don't even know. Moving on. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set meat before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat until I have told mine errand. And he said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord hath blessed my master greatly, and he is become great. And he hath given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and manservants and maidservants, and camels and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bare a son to my master when she was old, and unto him hath he given all that he hath. And my master made me swear, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but thou shalt go into my father's house and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And I said unto my master, Peradventure the women will not follow me. And he said unto me, The Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee, and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son of my kindred, and of my father's house. Then shalt thou be clear from this oath, when thou comest to my kindred, and if they give not thee one, thou shalt be clear from my oath. And I came this day unto the well, and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if now thou do prosper my way which I go, behold, I shall stand by the well of the water, and it shall come to pass that when the virgin cometh forth to draw water, and I say to her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water in thy pitcher to drink, and she say to me, Both drink thou, and I will also draw for thy camels. let the same be the woman who the Lord hath appointed, and for my master's son. And before I had done speaking, and mine heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down unto the well, and drew water. And I said unto her, Let me drink, I pray thee. And she made haste, and let down her pitcher from her shoulder, and said, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. So I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I also asked her, and said, Whose daughter art thou? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, and Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare unto him. And I put the earring upon her face, and the bracelets upon her hands. And I bowed down my head, and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, which had led me in the right way to take my sister's brother's daughter unto his son. And now if ye will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn the right hand or to the left, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The thing proceedeth from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son's wife, and the Lord hath spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself before the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. And he gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things, and they did eat and drink. And he and the men that were with him and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away unto my master. And let her brother and her mother said, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that she shall go. And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go to my sister. And they said, We will call the damsel, and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah, and said unto her, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah, and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. And Rebekah arose, and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the men. The servant took Rebekah, and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the land Lahai-roi, for he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the fields of the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and she saw Isaac. She lighted off the camel, and she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. She did not want Abraham to see her. She wanted Isaac to see her. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done, or I suppose she did not want Isaac to see her form, because it was Isaac. Isaac is also his master, I guess. When he said my master, I assume it was Abraham, but I guess it must be Isaac. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. It's kind of gross, right? Little Freudian. Chapter 25. Death of Abraham. Birth of Iswa and Jacob. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shuah. And Jokshan begat Sheba, and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Leumim. So these are all Isaac's brothers. They're Abraham's kids from a new woman. I guess he's still going at it. And the sons of Midian, Ephah and Epher and Hanok and Abidah and Eladah, and all these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 160 years. Then Abraham gave up the ghost, and died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his son Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar and Hittite, which is before Mamre. And the field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. So he got buried in the same cave as Sarah. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well of Lahai-roi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adibiel, and Mibsam. Sorry for my pronunciation. And Mishma, and Dumah, and Massa, Hadar, and Timah, Jetur, Nephish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. So they don't really get much detail of the life of Ishmael, do they? Except for that when he was a baby, he almost died when his mother was cast out. And they dwelt with Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou gest toward Assyria, and he died in the presence of all of his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, and a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in the tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage. I see. So Isaac loved Esau because he liked meat, and Esau could get meat. But Rebekah loved Jacob, who, loved to just dwell in the tents, hang out. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Chapter 26. Well, there's a lot going on, but it's still a good moment to give a little pause. Abraham has passed, and so now we're starting to deal with Isaac and what's going to happen with him. And, save that for the next video. Thank you for hanging out with me as I watch the sunset and the moon disappear. Sunrise, apologies, of course. My garden's looking really beautiful right now. Take a little gander. Hardham is where the home is. Until next time.